So YouTube, what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about Cyberpunk 2077 builds and the synergy coming with the 2.0 release that's going to be here in just 2 days time. So now on to the Cyberpunk build planner, so we can see firsthand the new skill trees and how perks will be unlocked through their new tier system. And then further, perks are going to be opened up based on the dependency perks, and these new perks are going to buff or assist the main perk in some way. So going in, we're first going to see the attribute page, which we're already familiar to. The only difference here is there's now going to be an additional 6 spot down here where the relic is going to be, and that will only be available with Phantom Liberty. So we're going to start at body, and as you see, it's completely different. Before, it was just a big screen with a bunch of different perks. Based on how many points you put into the body stat, new perks would open up, and they were all at different numbers, but that is not the case anymore. Now, every perk in tier 1 will open up once you get to level 4. The base perk will open up, which this one's called Painkiller, and this is going to focus on health regen. If you pick this perk up, it's going to open up for additional perks that are going to in some way relate to Painkiller. We have +1 health regen rate for each % of missing health. When using body pump, cyberware, or a health item, you're going to get +100% mitigation chance for up to 2 seconds. So we got Speed Junkie, which is +60% health regen while you're sprinting, and Army of 1, which is 10% health regen rate for each nearby enemy. Now, when you level up your different attributes, what's going to happen is the first tier is going to open up at level 4. The second tier will open up at level 9. The third tier will open up at level 15. Now these are not open yet because they have a dependency perk right here that you need to put your points into and max them out to open up the next level. And then as always, you have your ultimate perks here at level 20. So taking a quick look at the body, we're going to go ahead and put some points in these, which is going to open those up. Over on the left hand side, you're going to have all your perks that affect shotguns, light machine guns, and heavy machine guns. And the first perk being Die, Die, Die. Once you put 2 points into that and max that out, the surrounding perks will open up, and each one of these will in some way synergize with this. So you have no movement speed penalty when using shotguns, minus 25% bullet spread while running, and when below 30% stamina, you gain 15% mitigation chance and 5% mitigation strength. If you'd put 15 points into body, you would then be able to go up to the next part, which is Spontaneous Obliteration. Unlocking this at level 3 opens up Obliterate. And this is the ability to sometimes instantly kill and dismember enemies that are at low health. The chance increases the lower the enemy's health is, with the max being 20% to obliterate somebody. Which further then leads to the 20-point perk for shotguns and for your LMGs. For LMGs, you get Onslaught, which is +20% ammo refill after neutralizing an enemy with a light machine gun, and Rip and Tear, which is going to give you 100% damage for the next quick melee attack after shooting an enemy with a shotgun, and vice versa. You can get +100% damage from the next shotgun attack after hitting an enemy with a quick melee attack. And Rip and Tear could really play really well with a strong close quarter melee combat build. So we can see already how the different perk trees are going to synergize with one another within the same attribute, but we're also going to see how some things could really relate to each other, maybe something from, something from the tech tree, because in the tech tree, we're going to notice here in a moment that there is a branch there that focuses on using consumables. Maybe you buff up that consumable branch of the tech tree, and then you realize that Painkiller, which is something that's going to help with your health regen rate, is no longer as important. We talked about how over here we have the left branch in strength. It's going to focus specifically on the shotguns, LMGs, and HMGs. This middle branch here is going to focus on health regen, and then Adrenaline Rush, which is going to give you an extra health bar, which is going to be indicated as a yellow bar. And over here on the right side, these are all going to focus on blunt weapons. The best part being here, giving you Quake, which is going to let you do a superhero landing if you're doing aerial combat, and it's going to have you land on the ground, and when you do so, you're going to violently slam the ground, damaging and staggering nearby enemies with a chance of a knockdown. So I strongly suggest if you're going with a melee build, go through here, check these different skills out. Under Reflexes, let me bump this up to 15. Again, we have 3 different branches, and reflexes are going to consist of the left branch, which is going to focus on your assault rifles and your SMGs. We are going to have the middle branch, which is going to focus on mitigation and the ability to maneuver quickly and avoid damage altogether. It's also going to give us the ability to pick up dash, which will replace dodging and allow us to cover more ground and automatically vault over low obstacles. That then opens up the air dash, which is the cool one, and the superhero landing that I was talking about with the blunt melee. This is how you're going to do that. You could focus on this air dash and then build up your blunt weapons in the strength tree and get Quake, and you can mix the two together and just be crazy dodging, dashing, picking people up, throwing them at enemies, because the level 20 perk back in the strength tree for the blunt damage is the ability to, instead of killing or dismembering an enemy at low health, you can pick them up and throw them. So you can dash in, you could buff up your air dash and your maneuverability in the air. You could come down, land, hit Quake, hit everybody, grab one of them, right? And then throw them at another group, and then maneuver and dash and leap over objects again. And the next thing you know, you're right back up there in their face. You're knocking everybody down, and it's just going to be a brutal assault, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. The right hand tree for the reflexes is going to focus completely on blades. So maybe I don't want to focus on going into heavy damage with blades, but I would like to pick up an additional defense against long range attacks. I could focus and put just 2 points into blades to pick up the ability to block incoming projectiles. So when I'm fighting mechs, or if there's a bunch of snipers and stuff, I could come in slowly, set everything up, use my blades to block everything, get into position, then switch back over to whatever weapon I'm using. So I could focus on this without really wanting to do a lot of damage with blades. Pretty much just pull them out and use it as a defensive tactic and get into position, and then switch back over to what my real build is, and I could go ahead and take out things. So, that's just another option that's just showing the synergy and the versatility that's available now. All right, so let's quickly get through the rest of these. We jump over here to intelligence, and the first thing we're going to notice is that they have switched this tree up, and they have put smart weapons into the intelligence tree now. The right hand branch over here focuses specifically on those. The middle one here leads up to RAM recovery rate and all the perks that are going to assist with that, and the new ability of overclock, which allows you to use quick hacks even when you run out of RAM, but it's going to cost you 1 health instead. And over on the far side here, we have the new ability to set up queues. Based on this here, it looks like we can have 4 or plus queues. But the cool thing about this is how it's going to relate with the energy weapons now. Based on how many queues you have set up on a certain enemy, they're going to be more susceptible to damage, which is going to in turn, based on damage, give you back some of your RAM if you pick up some of these perks here under the RAM tree, which is also going to increase the amount of damage that you're doing with tech weapons and allowing the smart lock to remain on targets. Like if you have quick hacks already built up on a target, when you switch to a smart weapon, you're going to notice that the lock is already going to be on that enemy, and you're going to be doing increased damage, and you're going to be getting back RAM. Like these 3 perk trees here actually go together really well. And like I said, I did a video before about net running, so definitely check that out. And now that I'm seeing the skills firsthand here, I realize how well this is going to work together, and this is going to be a really fun playstyle. You're going to be putting your viruses and your hacks on everybody. You're going to be switching over to your smart weapons. You're going to be increasing your damage. You're going to be using that to get back your RAM, and it just sounds really, really cool. In the tech tree, there is no more crafting. That is now gone. Instead, the focus is going to be on buffing the recharge rate of your health consumables and your grenades. The middle one is the big one. This is the one that most people are probably going to be interested in. And that is your cyberware, licensed to Chrome, which unlocks a new cyberware slot for the skeleton and allows skeleton cyberware to have boosted stats. All of these other perks that go with these are going to give you additional modifiers on your stats. This one here unlocks a new cyberware slot for your hands. This one here is going to take -5% incoming damage for all the system and skeleton cyberware slots that you have filled. So everything in this middle perk tree leads up to the Edge Runners perk, which encourages you to buff up your cyberware as much as you can, because if you do that, the Edge Runner perk will allow you to exceed your cyberware capacity by up to 50 points. When you neutralize an enemy during combat, there is a 0.1% chance for each point that you're over capacity that you will break down into what's called Fury. In the state of Fury, you gain plus 10% damage, you gain plus 30% critical chance, and plus 50% critical damage, and the duration for that is 12 seconds. 12 seconds is a lifetime in combat in Cyberpunk 2077. You can go through and massively take out a pretty large group in 12 seconds and just tear completely through them. And we have over here, we have tech weapons. I'm not a big fan of tech weapons, but we do have the ability to pick up bolt. And to fire a bolt, you release the trigger for a charge shot right before it fully charges, and that will count as a charge shot, and it'll give you plus 30% damage and reduces the penalty for penetrating cover by 50%. So that's pretty cool. It may be something I play with, but I'm not too big into tech weapons, but it adds something to it, so that is always cool. And speaking of cool, let's head to the last perk tree over here, and that is the cool perks. Cool before added a bunch of really cool buffs and stat buffs that would come up, and it was kind of the best way to synergize things before. Like, people would really be focused on, you know, one part of the body tree, and they're like, nah dude, like, look at this buff here in the cool tree, this is way better. But it's no longer as complex and confusing anymore. Instead, it's just very straightforward. You have your 3 branches once again. Over here on the left, we're going to focus on pistols, revolvers, precision rifles, and sniper rifles. Right, in the middle here is your movement speed and your damage mitigation. We start with feline footwork, gives you plus 5% movement speed and plus 15% movement chance. And ninjutsu, which I think is completely cool, when you max this out at level 3, you gain the ability to sprint while crouching. And the right hand tree over here is all your focus on your throwing weapons, the ability to use dots by applying poison and bleed damage. And again, I really like how the tree goes together. I like how all the skills focus strongly on one another. And I mean, this ninjutsu and this crouch speed bonus would go really cool with everything that's in the slippery dash and the air dash abilities. They could go really well. You could go with a pistol build, or maybe you want to focus on the blunt weapons and doing Quake. You have this other ability that's located over here called the ticking time bomb, which is in your tech ability. And what it is it's a synergy between your buff durations and your cyberware, and it's going to allow you to pretty much be a mobile EMP. You're going to charge an EMP that hits nearby enemies for 3 seconds, and it's going to apply a stun and deal a massive amount of damage to everybody that's within your AoE circle. And while you're charging your EMP, you're also going to be taking 50% less damage. So we can only guess and speculate, but unless we're one of those people who've already played this, but I am looking forward to it. It's just less than 2 days now before we can all jump in and check it out. And I've already made several builds that I'm going to focus on. I think I'm going to go with a throwing knives, pistol, and assault rifle build. And we'll kind of see and play with that. And I'm really excited to see how these different builds can go. So hopefully you guys are too. I suggest going ahead, jumping over at the Cyberpunk build planner. I'll link that down below, or just type it into Google. It's going to be the very first one that comes up. So yeah, hopefully everybody is excited as I am. And I'm going to get out of here. So as always, everybody enjoy, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video.